I'm Dustin Hoffmann of the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and this is Brazil. Come along with me on this series as I tour some of the agricultural areas of Brazil, from Minas Gerais and Brasilia to Mato Grosso and Rio de Janeiro. I will show you the farms, industries, and the people that have forged Brazil into a large player in the global ag marketplace. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the 10th and final episode in our Brazil series, chronicling my trip to the country earlier this year. I'm Dustin Hoffmann, supervising editor and farm broadcaster with the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. In fact, it seems hard to believe that we're at the 10th week of this series and that this time has flown by quite quickly, much like the time I spent in Brazil earlier this year, and hard to believe it's been a few months since I was there. It was a great time, a great learning experience as far as agriculture and the culture of the people as well. There was so much that went on outside of just learning about agriculture that really shone a light on the relationship we could be having and already do have with the folks in Brazil. We took a bunch of farmers along on this trip, some from Iowa, some from Kansas, even a couple came from Alberta, Canada. So definitely worth the trip for everybody to come down and learn about how the agriculture industry works on the other side of the equator. And it was a great time to hear the reactions of those farmers who were there.
I live, eat, and do agriculture. That's what my life is, and my wife does too. And I promised her like 20 years ago that someday I would bring her to Brazil so she could see it.
So is it everything you've hoped it's going to be in the last 20 years so far on this trip?
So far, but I think the best is yet to come, because we saw a lot of forest today, and I think we're going to get, when we go to the Mato Grosso, that we'll get into a lot more bean fields.
Mike Gober-Brackling.
Okay, and you farm where?
In northeast Iowa, Clayton County.
Well, here on this particular farm, I was very impressed with their seed, sizing and sorting and bagging facility. Amazing. For a farm to do that, back in Iowa, it's all commercially done. Sure, the bean seeds are grown by the farmer, but then the seed companies take them away and do all that. They're doing that right here on the farm. Pretty impressive.
Now, these guys down here farm big time. We just came from a John Deere dealership, and they cover an area with multiple locations, obviously, but they cover an area probably half the size of Texas. And everything these guys do down there is, you don't see any 20 or 25 foot bean heads. They're all mostly 40s, 45s. We did see a couple 30 footers yesterday. And then 22, 24, 26 row, 20-inch corn heads, non-folding.
What's something else that's really surprised you, and maybe it was something that you didn't expect when you came here?
Well, we got to go through a coffee coffee fields here a while ago. That was very interesting to see how they harvest that and produce it as far as fertility goes, and just that they plant them from seedlings, and once you plant an area to coffee, you are dedicated probably 10 or 15 years out.
Maybe it makes you think twice when you have that morning cup now, doesn't it?
Oh, that's for sure.
This is actually pretty cool because I've never seen a no-till planter before. That's just something that we don't have in our area of northwest Iowa. It's just too cold for that. We only own one combine. If it breaks down, we're kind of SOL, but these guys, there's 7 combines, and I'm not sure how many grain carts, but we only have one grain cart. We farm a little over 3,000 acres. And we do pretty good, but these guys are just really doing it really good and right.
That is incredible. When we went to Carol's parents' place, they moved there when they were 19 and 20 years old. They were about the same age as my husband and I. I can't imagine going there when you're like 19 years old. There's nothing. They slept on plastic. They didn't have water. They had to go down to a river to get water. That's something you think about your grandparents maybe doing, or the pioneers coming way back when. Not in our lifetime did people do things like that.
It's almost like, we think it's hard enough just to modernize sometimes the operation into the next generation. You're talking about almost 3 or 4 generations worth of work in less than a generation.
For what Carol's parents have built in like 40 years, it's unreal.
I think they've modernized a lot in the last 30 years. From what I knew earlier, they've really come a long ways as far as equipment, just like the American farmer. Technology is here, wide equipment, big equipment, the agronomy end of the thing. They're doing it right.
I think instead of, yes, they are strong competitors, but I think we need to be of the mindset that it takes both the U.S. and Brazil to feed the world or provide ethanol to, and soybeans to especially China as an example. We can't do it alone. They can't do it alone. Should be a teamwork endeavor.
Anything that Iowa farmers need to know about if they get the opportunity, or even if they don't, what's something that they really should know about this Brazil operation?
Well, the size of these farms is just astounding. I mean, this gentleman here is talking like 48,000 acres, and I'm not saying that, you have to be that large to make a go of it, but I would think that the technology that they're using rivals what we're doing. They've got GPS out here, and they're on RTK, and they still have the same issues that we have as far as what's it going to take to produce a profitable crop, and as far as inputs and expense goes.
We also hear
I've come to appreciate Brazil as being needed in the world food supply. I used to kind of think, it would be great if it was dry in Brazil because our prices would be better. But yes, we like good prices, but the world needs food, and it takes every country producing food, and it's just only going to grow.
All these farmers that we've met, I felt, have been very gracious, very kind. They want to work with the United States, with us as farmers. I don't feel them as a threat at all. Actually, I feel like we could work together in the future and just make it right for both of our countries.
Yeah, we had one farmer tell us that, there are 7 billion mouths to feed on this planet. U.S. can't do it alone, Brazil can't do it alone, but maybe together we can accomplish a lot.
Definitely, I totally agree with that.
All right, anything else that Iowa farmers you think should know if they don't have the chance, or maybe do get the chance to come here?
I would definitely recommend it. It's just an eye-opener. Like I said, these farmers are very gracious. It's just been amazing to see their operations, how big they are, what they can do in a day, like with all of this equipment. It's just, I would highly recommend it. It's a great trip.
And just like that, we're at the end of this 10-week series of my trip to Brazil. It was a great time, and I want to thank the folks at Commstock Investments and Sementes Gaúcha for sponsoring this trip and for making it possible for all of us to come down and learn. I want to thank Matthew and Carolyn for all the work they did to make this trip memorable and educational for all of us. We got to see a lot about the culture, as I mentioned earlier, and learn about agriculture. Those things tie in together so much. If you get the opportunity to ever go to Brazil, I highly suggest you take it. There's a lot to learn, and they are a great people. Just like anywhere in the world, there always is something about them that makes them different, but yet you have so much in common and so much of a connection that you can really enjoy yourself. In fact, for not being able to speak more than probably 6 words in Portuguese, I did very well being able to communicate with people in the markets, people at restaurants, and with the farmers around the tour area. It's a great time and a great place, and I hope you get the chance to take a trip in the future. I know I definitely will want to go back as well. Well, we thank you for coming along on these 10 episodes of my Brazil trip. And if you haven't seen the first couple episodes, you can go back. There'll be a link at the end of this for the whole playlist, so you can go back and see everything that we've covered in this series. Again, thanks to everybody who helped sponsor this trip, and thanks to all those who made it a memorable one. For the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, I'm Dustin Hoffmann.